Hello Internet, hello YouTube, hello anybody watching this wherever you are. I'm excited and a little nervous, to be honest with you, to go through this entire pedal board, but it's taken up a few months of my life and I'm pretty proud of the progress that I've made and everything I've learned so far. I've had a lot of people asking me through my live streams and comments through groups and message boards if I could go through it. So I'd like to do what I can in this initial video, and I foresee a few more follow-ups just to kind of answer more questions and show more inner workings of it. But to put it simply, the signal path, I have a Taylor T5Z, standard style electric guitar pickups with volume and kind of an EQ built in, but for the most part I'm just using the electric guitar pickups. It goes through the poly tune, which is on all the time. You can see in the top corner right up there, nice and in tune for the most part. It goes through the poly tune to the SY200, the Boss synth pedal. Play a couple notes with that. Does chords nicely. That's without the SY200. That's a clean guitar sound that I just kind of start every gig with. After it goes through the SY200, it finds its way to the quad cortex. The quad cortex is an immense piece of gear, both on my bank account and its capabilities. I really kind of found myself pigeonholed in my options to something that would fit this small form factor, but be powerful enough for what I envisioned. So I have the guitar running through the quad cortex. Out of the quad cortex effects loop, I have the signal running to the Boss RC600. So the Boss RC600 being in the effects loop, I will be showing you some of the capabilities and the reason that I would suggest doing this if you have the option when we go through some of the effects. But everything on the quad cortex is pretty much affected through all of these buttons on the unit itself, and I can start going through them just to give some flavors here. I have a octave that is isolated through the low end of the guitar, what's called a crossover frequency, and it adds a bass note, adds a bass octave. I'll turn it off. I mostly keep this on the whole show. So I'll turn it back on. I'll even turn the bass up on the guitar so you can hear it. Most likely we'll need to listen through headphones to fully hear those frequencies. That is very important to me. I have a auto wah. I have a chorus. Everything is in stereo if I have the choice in the effects, they are in stereo. Have a phaser. Truthfully, those two modulation effects are pretty much all I need, but got a little greedy. This next one I love for textures over top of my loops. I think it's on 16th notes or 30 seconds. I cannot recall off the top of my head, but it's a nice tremolo with a hard cut, and I love the controls inside of the quad cortex that allow for that. These next three I don't use too much. This one could be changed out, but for right now I just have a reverse reverb, or a reverse delay. That's on 100% wet. This next one is very cool. This is after the effects loop, after it goes through a loop, and I'll show you why I did this, but it's a bandpass filter. And you can hear it quite a bit with the drums, but I'll turn it off. All the bass frequencies are there. Turn it on, and all of the bass frequencies disappear. I'll show you why I do that. The next one is a delay, and I actually have this delay triggered. Oh, sorry, it's actually a reverb. There we are. It's a reverb, and I have it triggered down here, and I use this so often while I'm looping, and as a transition point. It can be building up, and I'll turn the reverb on. Lots of trails, long trails, and I can use it as kind of an elevation of high-end frequencies in order to kind of increase the energy. It almost sounds like a white noise swell and like a splash and almost like a crash cymbal. And that being inside of the effects loop of the quad cortex is also affecting the loop. So while I loop, whatever is going through the RC600 will also go through that effect. Jumping down, we're going to kind of go in this direction. I have the bass octave, which no longer affects the bass octave effect that was on previously. This just turns the entire guitar into a fully octaved bass sound. It's not the cleanest octave sound that I've heard, but it works, and I use it on plenty of songs that have a very, very simple repeating chord progression. So really cool sound. The next effect is actually being routed through the RC600, part of one of the four input effects. So I'll pull these up real quick. You can see the first block turns off, and now it turns on through this X-Sonic air step, and this turns it into a slow hand, it's called. It does automatic fades. To be honest with you, I don't really use this that much, and I might change out that effect, which is great because everything is digital. I can kind of change it whatever I like, but it could be cool for a rhythmic part, like I said, currently don't use it too much, but it's there. I have a delay, which this one is a ping pong delay coming from the RC600. Nice stereo field. Which is MIDI synced to the RC600. Love that delay. I have a quarter note delay, which I find to be applicable for almost every song. This will work for the ping pong delay. Due to its timing, will not work on songs that have a triplet feel, and tastefully it's just not always the right fit. But I find this delay, as you can see it blinking with the light, I find that delay to be applicable for just about every song. And the same goes for this next switch, which is a delay for the vocal. Love that delay as well. I use these three, to really enhance the performance quite a bit. I kind of play almost every single song with delay. Love the sound of that. These next two are currently, only one of them here is just kind of questionable. I'm unsure if I'll keep it, but it actually is another reverse delay, but just for my voice. Every time I use it, I am, just kind of surprised by, the sounds that it makes, and I'm unsure of whether or not I'll end up using it. Might switch it out for a chorus. Love the sound of vocal chorus. The next pedal over here turns on my my vocoder. So I'll turn that on here and I'll play and speak a few lines with the guitar. Love this effect. Always turns heads when I play. It's a big part of a few songs, and I'll show you a couple other things you can do with it. Sounds really cool with the yeah. Sound. You can even beatbox with it. Check it. Love that sound, not only for live looping, but I play with, real human players on a somewhat regular basis, and I just love pulling that out. It always makes band members just kind of turn their heads, and it's awesome. All right, moving down. I think we should tackle the RC600 next. So this has taken me quite a while to envision, and my reasoning behind it is it's kind of in depth, so I'll end up doing probably its own video on this. But long story short, I have play and record set for each one of these pedals for all 6 channels. So channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have the corresponding stop and hold to delete function for every button beneath it. This, like I said, has taken a good bit of time, but to basically make a long story short, I have 2 of these switches hooked into the RC600 under the control foot switch, 1 and 2, and then I have another 2 connected as control foot switch 3 and 4. And the other 2 are actually being routed through the Morningstar MC8 through the Omni ports on the back. On the back of the MC8 are 4 ports that you can assign and customize to just about any message that you'd be seeking to accomplish. So I have all of these kind of assigned to each track. And what I had to do with the functions that are sending through the Morningstar, I had to assign a click function, and I had to assign a hold function in order to delete. So now I'm recording number 1. If I want to stop it, that is the MIDI command for stop for that track. So that's one of my assigned sections taken up. And if I hold it, the second assign message gets sent, which is to delete that track. The reason that I have, probably a lot of white noise is going to come through here because I'm recording a track on each one. But the reason I have all of these set up this way is so that I can stop 2 tracks at once with 1 foot switch. This is not a very big shoe, kind of a narrow shoe if you ask me. But both of them can be stopped, and two of them can be played at once. I really enjoy being able to control. What you just saw there was a misstep, which happens more than I would like it to. Still trying to figure out exactly how to stop that, but I've been able to work around it. I'm able to start and stop two tracks at once, which I find to be kind of indispensable at this point. These top two buttons here start and stop these two tracks. They both do the same thing. And the reason I have that is so that I can hit 3 tracks on at once. I know it's a little wild, but basically what I typically do is have drum tracks recorded in these center tracks. And when I want to play the drums all together at once with potentially a bass line here, I can hit it just like that. One footstep starts 3 tracks that I intend to start. Same thing with this one over here. I hope I don't hit the mic stand, but oh, there we go. Let's try that one more time. I'm kind of at an awkward angle, but it works when I'm out live. I can start all 3 of those tracks together. And let's see, we'll just go down the line here. The furthest foot switch is all play, all stop, which is awesome for live looping at any capacity. The next foot switch is a track effect, which is like a splash style delay. And I showed you this button down here, which, as you can see, the blinking light starts the reverb, which affects everything here. And the button right here at the top, button number 7, if I hold it, it deletes everything, but it's a current track. Undo, redo. If I'm playing a beat or a chord progression midway through my loop and I don't like the way it sounds, I can just simply delete it really quickly. And then when I'm finished with the song, I can hold and it deletes the entire track. I don't use different presets, I just make every song as I start. I'll play a little rhythmic part to the guitar just to be able to showcase some of the effects here. So this splash effect that I referenced earlier, in the middle of a break, you can create some space, add an element. I'll show you the reverb again. Very helpful. The next effect that I have assigned to the MC8 is a bandpass filter, which is a track effect. Now this track effect only affects the loop. So if I play some bass notes underneath, the bass still comes through. Now if I use the bandpass filter up here, it creates a bandpass filter effect on everything coming through, whether I am it creates it on the entire thing, which is advantageous, in my opinion, to do the intro of a song, where I might want to make the sound a lot smaller at the beginning and then drop it into a big part. This next effect is similar to the reverb. It is inside of or after the effects loop, and it's a delay that acts more as a kind of dub and fill style effect. And while I play guitar, and the reason that it's nice, once again, to have it through the effects loop is it will, you can see it kind of light up there. There it is, that cute little guy. Love using that thing. The reason it's nice to have it in the effects loop is it will also affect the guitar that comes through. The splash effect that I used earlier, that is a track effect. When I play, it only affects the the sounds of the loop, but it will not affect the guitar that I play coming through. So if I do this splash effect, which is getting kind of chaotic, bear with me. If I play guitar, it does not affect that guitar. Next in line is a double time. Good for a build up. So I use that just to create, a little bit of a build up. Next one is a vocal echo. So I have the echo here that I use. So funny while I'm talking, but it sounds good when you're singing. I keep it on for longer parts and almost entire songs sometimes. This next echo is more intense and more of a stab sound that I'll be singing and I'll be playing. Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. Love that sound. Great for just adding a little bit of emphasis on certain words here and there throughout the track. Very reggae and dub inspired. The next button is a low pass effect, which is a track effect through the RC600. Honestly, I really don't find myself using this too much, but it's there, and I can change it for other track effects if I feel compelled in the future. I'm going to go ahead and stop the loop just so I can go over the next couple. This one turns on a EQ. Whoa, you heard my voice change too. But it turns on an EQ through the quad cortex, which adds a lot of bass frequencies to the guitar. When I'm playing solo with just a guitar, an electric guitar, or even an acoustic guitar, I've found this to be helpful to create a rhythm while you're performing the drum beats. So a lot of times you want, a considerable amount of bass in your signal when you're by yourself, but when you're creating a kick drum, a thump, this preset's called thump actually, when I turn it on, it creates a lot of bass frequencies that are only really good for a kick drum when I play the guitar. So I'm going to hit the guitar. That's just without it. Now I'm going to turn it on. Big boost in the 50 hertz. And what it's also doing, it's initializing a panning effect inside of the VE500, which will actually send my voice into channel 2 on the RC600. So let me pull up the mixer for you. Let's see. Yes, you can see my voice through channel 1, mic in 1. Now if I hit this button, you're going to see me come through mic in 2. Can you see me coming through mic in 2? Yes. The EQ is different from mic in 2. I really just use it for recording vocals inside of loops, which is typically beatboxing, but you could do this too if you were an accomplished enough singer to lay down a main line and then harmonize over top of it. The next button accomplishes this same effect, just without the addition of the bass frequencies on the guitar. So when I'm looping with a drum kit and I no longer need to increase the bass frequencies in order to record my voice, I just hit this button. So now my voice is coming through here. So if I beatbox, let me beatbox without it. Doesn't come through. Now if I turn it to mic in 2 and beatbox, I think I had that previous loop, so. So there we are. Now I have a looped piece, and when I go to loop other aspects of my performance, I can choose whether or not I need my voice to be included in that progression. And the final button here that's readily accessible to me is a freeze patch. So you should have seen it just light up on the quad cortex in the corner there. And if I turn it off, it should fade out. I really struggled for a while to find a way to do this. Most freeze units are standalone, and they mostly are not stereo either. So it's very tough to find something that would work for what I needed, but Quad Cortex has it, and I like it. Don't love it. I wish it had some motion to it. It's a little stale, but it works. So because it's after the loop, I can create a loop. You can see it created, sometimes this happens, I don't know why. When you hit a button, it registers a double click. Would love if Boss could assist me with that, but I get by. I'm used to it. It's intricacies. But anyway, it did it again. I think it's happening more in this video than it typically happens in a gig, but at last. Now I can turn off the freeze and it will disappear. And that also means the freeze was not recorded into the loop. Really great for creating a transition section of a song. And yeah, I'm just kind of unsure of how to go through all of this in order to, create a comprehensive picture. But what I wanted to do was try to encapsulate as much as I could in a single video. And in order for me to do that, I also wanted to bring in a drum pad, which I have connected currently right here, which is a MPC, a Kai MPC-1. I also have a wave drum attached to it, which is a Korg wave drum. And I figured what I could do is make a beat, make kind of a section of a song so we can all, see what some of these effects do. I'm going to be talking over it, which may be a little annoying, but I think it will allow me to share kind of my thought process, and I think it will, explain a little bit why I went so crazy with this and some of the aspects that might be helpful to you, and in the future, some of the aspects that, maybe I found to be a little overkill. But let's find out together. So, the MPC-1 I have linked through into the inputs of the RC600. One of the inputs records, and the other input does not record, but it still inputs. So, I can hit one of these pink buttons, and you're going to hear a funky sound. It's funky. Now, if I record, that sound was not recorded into the loop, which is great, super great, for creating textures that go from one section into the next, and you may not want to have that transition sound locked into your recurring loop. So I'm going to use some of the drum sounds, which are routed into the loop, in order to create a section here. I'm kind of at an awkward position to make this camera work, but I think I can do it. Some of the things I typically do, I'll either beatbox to create a kind of like a metronome, like a. So now I have something kind of locking me into a nice section, and that allows me to decide if I want to record guitar or drums next, and I don't have to be super finicky about the timing of it on a grand scale, because it will lock to this tempo. I normally always put the lighter portion of this here. Sometimes I'll do that with the wave drum here, so I'll give you a couple sounds of the wave drum. Nice tambourine. There's a bongo sound. Let me pull that up. With a shaker. I'll just put some tambourine over top of that lighter percussion part. You ready? Got this nice metronome and kind of an evolving piece. Now, if I do a drum beat over top of this, which I will with the MPC, I don't necessarily need to put a hi-hat sound over top, because the flowing piece of the percussion section is creating that scaffolding. But lots of times, and I would suggest anybody doing this with drum beats, put the hi-hat, the kick, the snare, all in one. Just do it all in one. I kind of get a little impatient when I watch somebody go through a drum pattern, adding everything. Now, the beauty of the RC600 is you can do it with a very short amount of rhythmic parts, and it will lock into the tempo. So here we go. That's all it took. Isn't that nice? Like a French house type of sound. I think it would be appropriate for this little idea to record a full, just unadulterated bass sound. Big fan of loops like that are, super thick. If I want to change the chord progression for this song midway through, I would turn on my other octave effect. And since I'm in E minor, maybe I'll play like an A major. So the bass frequencies will still be present for me while I am doing other parts of the song. I'll put in some delay. Maybe I'll do the ping pong delay. Love that for this style. So here we go. Something like that can be super useful. When I maybe were to start singing, I would take out the big part of the loop in the bass, but the melodic information would stay. So now we have a part of the song that we can kind of get into, and maybe I'll create a little swell with the reverb. So we're already getting somewhere, Another good piece of this MPC is I actually have I'm trying to move it into frame here, I have a cymbal sound here. Let me delete that and I'll show you like kind of the way I like to bring that in. So what I'll do is create a little bit of a swell sometimes, either with one of these sounds. So here we go. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You gotta take something out if you're gonna add that in. I find that to be a little easier if you go into a chorus, and when you're doing the chorus, that's when I like to add that type of cymbal sound, you know. And I've been doing this a lot lately. I'll be adding a guitar line during the solo. Let's say I'm taking a solo. That's kind of how I'll go into a solo piece. Now, after I'm done maybe soloing a little bit, do the vocoder. Let's see how that sounds. Solo, solo, I'll solo for an hour. I'll solo for an hour and just, you know, play the whole gig just soloing over top of this loop, you know. 3 hours goes by in no time. What I find myself doing is adding a guitar line and I'll harmonize over that. Which is a nice little texture. Now we're really getting somewhere. Man, I have a lot of fun with this. All right. I think that's a good place for me to stop for right now. I think that just encapsulates a little bit of what's capable through the board. I know this doesn't answer all the questions. I'm sure you would like to know how I wired these buttons on the lower row, how I made them, and I'm sure you would like to see underneath of the mixer and underneath of the quad cortex. So what I'm going to do is create another video that will go into depth on some of the other details of this, and I'll answer all the questions I can, and just really appreciate you guys hanging out, and check out my live streams. I've been streaming almost every gig, and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. I've been getting more subscribers, and people just reaching out and asking me good questions, and it's adds a aspect to gigs that you know, sometimes might be a little slow, and I really get to remember them a lot more because they're on YouTube forever. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.